Donnie's building big things. Here's your look at the NECA Toys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Giant-Sized Turtles Donatello. After being accidentally exposed to radioactive ooze, 4 ordinary household pets are transformed into a band of wise-cracking, pizza-loving, villain-dicing adolescent reptiles. Meet Leonardo, the super-cool, sword-wielding leader, Raphael, the jokester hurling manholes and one-liners in rapid succession, Donatello, the brain behind the brawn, and Michelangelo, the ice-cream pizza-gobbling party animal. Whether it's facing fierce enemies or saving humanity from near extinction with the guidance of their sensei, these heroes and a half-shell are always ready for straight-out-of-the-sewer action. Before we start looking at this turtle who's not so tiny, I'd first like to thank the folks over at NECA Toys that provided the sample of giant-sized Donatello that we could have a look at in this review. Of course, if you remember, here on this channel, we have already looked at a giant-sized turtle, so carefully, I'm going to slide over this oversized Donatello and bring in an equally sized, let's just get his feet straightened out here, an equally sized Raphael. Just going to straighten up his head a little bit. The figures are, of course, as you could guess it, utilizing the same bodies. The heads are going to be slightly different, but not by much. There are, of course, the options of swappable faceplates, lower halves and upper halves. They can kind of mix and match and change the expression to the way that you want it. Despite Donnie being so oversized, NECA still manages to pack a ton of accessories in with the figure, which we'll have a look at right now. Starting first, you may not see it down here. I'm going to pick it up so you can get a closer look at it. Donatello does come included with the Turtle Communicator. The Turtle Communicator, you can open up to reveal the inside, and of course you can fold down the antennas located on the top, and the turtle can hold it in his hand. This is the exact same communicator. I'm just reaching outside to bring in the one that we got included with Raphael. Let's just open up Raphael so you can see as well. Flip the antennas, pop that open, you got yourself this same Turtle Communicator. The detail on these are fantastic. I think I may have even said when we had a look at Raphael, oversized Raphael, I would love to see NECA Toys do like prop replicas of the cartoon turtle accessories. They're already sort of doing that with the Batman animated series line. I wish they hopefully will continue that trend over to Turtles stuff as well. Imagine getting a 1-to-1 scale of the Turtle Communicator. I think that would be fantastic. You can see the detail work on this, as well as paint, is pretty good on these pieces. And again, you can fold these up and just compact them like that. Other accessories to come include with Donatello. This is kind of fun. He gets included a Genius Quarterly. And it is an actual, well, not flyer, but at least a magazine. Inside says Spotlight on Compounds X7. Important stuff for reversing mutations. It'd be a little harder to be able to read what that is. Instead of actually words, it's just a bunch of scribbles, but at least it gives you like the idea that this could be a magazine. And then on the back, advertise the undefeated champ, the terrible turtle. That's super cool, the fact that they would include that. It's pulled, of course, from the episodes. Donatello also comes included with a couple of pizza slices. Now, I would be guessing, if I was to look at this, extra cheese, perhaps pepperoni, mushrooms, perhaps anchovies. That looks like a mushroom. That looks like a pepperoni. That looks almost like a tomato. I don't think that's something a turtle would usually have on a pizza. You may also see as well that there's these little peg pieces on the sides. They'll actually line up with the slots located on the other side of the pizza slice. You can actually connect these together. The neat thing about it, though, is while putting this down, we can grab equally sized and shaped pizza slices that came included with Raphael. And again, you can do the exact same thing. You probably can see where this is about to be going. You can then take the slices that came included with Donatello and the slices that came included with Raphael and join the two villages together. Just like that. And you've got yourself half of a pizza. Now, if you were to do the math in your head, it's not too complicated. We have 2 oversized turtles so far, Donatello and Raphael. We have 4 slices of pizza, what will eventually, I'm guessing, be an 8-slice pizza. We still have Michelangelo coming, so Leonardo still to come. I would imagine that that would complete a full-sized pizza. Clever, the way that they've done that. One better, NECA Toys, providing I can actually reach it, also included Vinny's Pizza, more so a box that you can actually open up. It's cardboard. And just flip the lid up like that. And inside you can see just a cardboard box. But then you can take at least the pizza we have done so far. Put the slices together. And providing we actually do get pizza slices, which I imagine we would with both Michelangelo and Leonardo, we're going to have ourselves a full-size pizza, which will fit exactly the shape of the pizza box. Just slide that over a little bit. Nice little touch. I like the fact that they would have done that. Then we move on to Donatello's staff. And being that it's an oversized Donatello, you're also going to get yourself an oversized staff. This could be something a small kitten could carry around with it. I better not get that idea out there when my kitten's going to be able to hear it. You can see it's been sculpted here in plastic, but being able to replicate the wood, nicely done on NECA's parts. They have panel lined some of the lines on the wood. And of course you have the taped off center section of this. The staff can be wielded in his hand. Let's just move all the hands out of the way and move these swappable heads out of the way. Let's grab Donatello's hand here, for example. I'm just going to put it in his hand. Now, at least the fingers are soft enough that you can quite easily get the staff in his hand, because he's also got larger feet as well. It seems to offset the weight of the figure, and he doesn't topple over at all when you've got the staff in his hand. The other thing, of course, you can do as well, like the smaller sized Donatello, you can take the staff out of his hand, take the turtle, and you can flip it around to the back, and located on the back, there is a loop opening on his belt. You can then take the staff and feed it through. And while it may not look like the hole's going to be big enough to accommodate the staff, it actually does. It seems a little loose when it gets to here, but as you get a little bit further up, because the tape is a little bit broader of a sculpt, it's more than enough to keep the staff in place. Not that you would be shaking the turtle around to prove that. The figure also comes included with a bunch of swappable hands as well. Some of these hands have carried over from, I believe, Raphael. But again, you could use these really with the staffs. You could also use this for the communicators as well. You can take the communicator and sort of just not pry the fingers away, but just enough that you can actually get the communicator resting on the finger. And it's resting against the back, I guess, middle finger. I have to remember as well that the turtle only has 3 fingers instead of 5. You can have the turtle holding the communicator this way. I guess we could have it a little bit further up and then just compensate it by bringing the finger around. Probably works a little bit better to have it further up the way I really had it in the first place. But again, if you just have it resting against the finger, yeah, the turtle, I had it good work. I had it working fine the first time I did it. Anyways, you can have him holding the communicator. I was doing, like I said, a really good job at it initially. You have to have it just sort of resting against the finger here. Now, you can also really as well have it resting against or have it inside the larger gripped hand as well. But he does also come included with those hands. And the figure also comes included with a couple of high 5s, or would those be then high 3s? And I guess if you have a couple of turtles together, Raphael and Donatello, so far you can have them high 3ing. Let's now move on to the figure's head sculpts. I guess first we'll start with the stock head sculpt, and then we'll move on to the other options available, because there's different ways that you can customize Donatello when you have him on your shelf. What we're looking at right now is stock Donatello head sculpt. This is the head sculpt that would greet you when you remove him from his plastic prison. He sort of has a frown for the time being, and it seems to have a bit of a more of an angrier face on his bandana, at least his angrier eyes. The figure does have some really nice detailing done to it, similar to his smaller counterparts. They've added darker shadowing on the back side of his head, so you have more of the darker green here and that more swamp green at the front of it. He does also have the bandana knot, which actually is removable because you only get one of these. You're then going to have to use that for the swappable head sculpts that we'll look at in a second. I don't know necessarily I would display him with the more angry or scowling eyes like this, but I do think it's a nice looking head sculpt. And like I said, he does come with a couple of different other options available. Let's just put the figure down here for 1 second. And we'll grab the other head sculpts that he comes included with. He comes with a worried head sculpt, which actually so happens to be the same worried head sculpt that also came included with Raphael. I think eventually when we do get ourselves a Michelangelo, I think this may be a better suitable head sculpt for Michelangelo, at least the lower half of it. You can see that there are identical heads to one another. Now, just because they are identical right now doesn't mean they have to stay this way. What you can actually do, and this is kind of neat the way they've done this, they give you another lower mouth as well. So between the 3, I guess you have three lower mouth areas and then 2 upper eye areas. Now, so if you want to take, for example, worried Donatello, just go ahead and put your thumb inside the head and you're just going to pop the top of the head off. This seems to be the easiest way to do this. Just remove the top of the head like this. And then you can take now the smiling face. I'm going to do it with this head sculpt, and then I'll do a comparison between the two so you can see how quickly his expression and demeanor changes. Now, when you are putting it back in place, you will want to line the hole up to the back little grooved area there on the bottom of it. This will, of course, accommodate the bandana. And when you put this back into place, you're going to have to snap this shut, as there's these little ledges on the side here. They're going to have to fit inside. It also helps as well sometimes if you have the head tilting forward like this. And then just, again, pop that in place. The first couple of times you do this, you may have a bit more of a struggle. The more times you do it, however, it's going to be a lot more easier to accommodate. But then you're just going to fit this in place. And then once that's in place, I'll show you the difference between the two head sculpts. Sometimes it's just easier to do things off camera. Anyways, I've taken the top of the head and snapped it, of course, to the bottom with the smiling face, and then change the head sculpt off. I'm going to want to put this onto the ball socket, and I'm going to have to remove that one off the neck right now. Let's pick the figure up. First thing it also helps to do as well is to remove the back of the bandana. This is just going to remove by a peg, just to twist this off. It helps to as well while you're pulling it, like I said, to twist it. That way you don't run the risk of breaking off the peg. But then we're just going to remove it from the back of Donatello's head. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and yank Donatello's off the ball joint. Now again, similar to putting the faces in place, the first couple of times you do this, you may have a bit more of a difficult time. You can also take a hairdryer, and you can heat this up as well, just to take a few passes, just to soften that up a little bit, the socket. Because again, the first time you do this, you're going to have a bit of a harder time. But every time after that, once you've opened up the socket on the inside where the ball joint's going to attach to, you're going to find it's a lot more easier to change out the head sculpts. Before I replace this head sculpt with this one here, I wanted to show you guys the difference between the two. It's just a matter of changing out, like I said, the top of the head and replacing it with the lower mouth. And you can change that look as well. If you want to have the more neutral or slightly more frowning face, then you can easily just take the top of this, replace it with this one. You can also then take the head sculpts that came included with, say, Raphael. I'm just going to grab Raphael's decapitated head for the time being to show you guys that, again, if you want to just take the top of Donatello, you can replace it then with Raphael's head sculpt if you want to have Donatello with more of a smiling face instead. The only other last step we have to do is take the back of the bandana and now attach it to the new home where it's going to belong. And just again, wiggle this back into the socketed joint, like that. Something we'll talk about as well when we talk about the figure's articulation is that the bandana actually does have a hinge joint right there. So you can move it up and down as well. I wouldn't want to do it right now until we actually get the peg lodged in place. And then we can go ahead and put the head sculpt back in place. You can see like there's a hinge joint right there. It's a little on the tighter side, but you can move it up and down as well if you really wanted to. Now that I've found Donatello's head sculpt a new home, let's go ahead and have a look at the rest of the figure. I actually do like the look of Donatello with the big smile on his face instead. Angrier looking Don is a nice touch to include by NECA's part, but in all honesty, again, I like to have my turtles smiling more than anything else. Again, we'll get a closer look at the details on the figure, then we'll talk a little bit about the figure's articulation. Again, you've got the shadowing effect that's happening at the back side of the turtle, and that's not just inclusive to the head sculpt, for example. You'll see that it covers all the way down the figure's body as well. This is something that has been consistent really with not only the larger oversized turtles, but the smaller turtles as well. You've got the darker shadowing of the green on the far side of his arm, where then you have that lighter swamp green on the front. And that also carries over to the coloring of his elbow pads and wrist pads as well, or wrist bands. The detailing also done on the back of the shell. I guess you could also as well. I'm going to put Donatello down here facing the opposite way. Why is he facing the opposite way right now? Just to bring in also Raphael, just to indicate that it seems to be the exact same, again, body that they're using. Short of the fact that the belt is going to be different because, of course, Donatello's is going to house the staff on the back, and Raphael is going to house the sai on the front of his belt. It's about the only thing that really changes between the two turtles. The shells are identical to one another. Okay, let's move Raphael back out of the way of things. Picking the figure back up again, there's certainly a bit of a workout that's involved picking up Donatello every single time. You've got the nice panel lining done there in the belt. I even like the areas that they've got it where naturally it would be stretched around the actual staff that's fitted through that hole again. And again, we spin it around. What's different also about Donatello is the fact he has the notable D there on the front of his belt, unlike Raphael's, who has, of course, yes, you've guessed right, the noted R on the front there as well. Paint is very clean on this. They get afforded, I think, a little bit more time to work on these figures when it comes to things that they include. I think as well as the disguised turtles, not something we have had a look at on the channel yet, also benefit from having these swappable head plates. I really do want to get that set eventually as well. Looking at the articulation now on Donatello, now that we've put the new head in place, his head is on a ball joint, so it can look up, it can look down, and it can also move back and forth as well. You may also see, while I've been doing this, that he also has a secondary ball joint afforded at the base of the neck. So that allows the neck just to look a little further forward as well, and also the same as well looking back. I also mentioned earlier when we changed out the bandana that yes, the bandana does have a hinge joint. Still a little on tight side on my figure, but again, if you wanted just to heat that up, you can then be able to move the back knot back and forth on the figure, and technically up and down as well. When it then comes to his arms, the arms come out not quite at a 90-degree angle bend, but give or take about 45 degrees. You can then take the arms, rotate them all the way around. The figure has a swivel on the bicep. The figure has also, to his benefit, a double hinge joint. Now you see there's a hole, well there's a ball peg right there that actually fits into the hole. This may sometimes happen to you when you take the figure and you're moving things around on him, that sometimes that comes loose. But you can see it's very easy to put back in place. You're literally just taking the ball socket and you're fitting it into the hole there. But the figure does have a double bend on the elbow. You can rotate the hands all the way around. You can also hinge those back and forth. Now the figure also does have an upper torso ball joint. It's a little harder to get access to. You may also see as well the front of his shell is a softer plastic. That helps a little bit. But there's a little bit of a wiggle up at the top here. Then we get to his legs. His legs, you may also be able to, well, if you have the speaker loud enough, you'll certainly hear as well. He does have a ratcheted joint on the inside of his legs. I'm glad to see that they do incorporate that when it comes to quarter scale figures, because of course, if you do incorporate ratcheted joints, that's going to guarantee that the figures aren't going to just start doing splits on you on the shelves. You can bring the legs forward, and you can also bring the legs back. The figure has no swivel on the top, but he certainly does have a swivel both in the knee, and also he has the hinge joint on the back of the knee, double hinge joint. There's one, and there's two. Nice, again, tight on this figure. I don't think I've had any issues so far with the quarter scale figures, not even just the Ninja Turtles, the Donatello, the Raphael, but also the other quarter scale figures. I don't think I've had any real issues with the knees developing looseness over time. That's one of the benefits of them using really tight joints here and ratcheted joints up here. It's going to guarantee that the legs aren't going to start getting floppy on you. Then when it comes to his feet, you can see there's a hinge joint right here. You can bring the foot forward, you can bring it down, and you can also ankle pivot as well. You may also notice a few little flakes of paint that have found their way onto my fingers. That's just common. At least as well, like there was no problems with paint on this figure being occupied in those jointed areas. Again, we'll get the figure to stand up right here. Bringing back in Raphael. I have gotten myself a considerable workout in this review, but I love the idea that we are getting these quarter scale turtles. Not for everybody, to be fair. Not everybody has that afforded space to be able to put out oversized turtles like this, but if you do, they do make for nice showpieces. And not only do you get oversized turtles, but the fact that they throw in as much accessories as they do as well with these releases. NECA really goes all out for these oversized turtles. And so far, the two that I'm looked at, the Raphael and Donatello, I've absolutely loved. Can't wait to get the Michelangelo, can't wait to get the Leonardo, and can't wait to have the quartet of turtles finally on my display. Longtime viewers to this channel know that I may not have always been keen to the idea of quarter-scale NECA figures. Earlier on into my reviewing days of looking at these oversized figures, I sort of was dismissive just to the idea, not so much that I didn't like the work that NECA Toys put into these pieces, but more so for the fact I just didn't have the space to put them out. But when you really think of things and you put things in perspective, a giant-sized 15-inch turtle isn't that much bigger than a 6-scale figure you may already be collecting, that I'm already collecting right now. And then, of course, when you get to the ideas of getting these oversized turtles, it really gives then NECA a chance to go all out, not only with swappable features, but a little more elaborate accessories that maybe the smaller scale turtles just couldn't pull off. Now, I don't have yet the disguised turtles. I think the disguised turtles are also something where you can have swappable parts or swappable faces on the heads of the turtles. I would certainly like to get a chance to look at those at some point down the road. I may go out of my way to try to see if I can find a set of those, because I think they're going to be very similar to what we're getting here with the giant-sized turtles. But I have felt I've come full swing now. Whereas before I was sort of on the idea, I don't know if I really wanted to start collecting quarter-scale turtles, to the idea now, I can't wait to get both Leonardo and Michelangelo and finish off the 4 turtles, because it doesn't seem really complete just to have Raphael and Donatello on my shelf right now. Fantastic work again by NECA Toys. I get the idea that not everybody is going to get on board the idea of getting giant-sized turtles, because mentioned already by me, you may not have the space for it, and that's fine. NECA Toys is still doing a fantastic job on the smaller scale turtles. But if you are a Turtles fan, yes, and if you have the space, yes, you're going to absolutely love these giant-sized turtles on display. You're getting all the benefits of really what the smaller turtles were getting, but I think with a larger canvas like this, you're really able to see the work that NECA Toys have been putting into their Turtles line, just in a more appreciative, larger scale size. A big thank you again to the folks over at NECA Toys that provided the sample of giant-sized Donatello that we could have a look at in this review. Again, we're about halfway through. Well, we are literally halfway through, looking at already Raphael, looking at now Donatello. Can't wait to get a look at both Leonardo and Michelangelo, which I don't think are actually out yet, but I'm super excited to have a look at those and finish off the 4 Turtle brothers. What do you guys think of the giant-sized turtles? Have you been collecting these yourself? If you haven't, is this a line that you would consider collecting? I always like reading your comments down below. And hey now, if you are new to this channel, you're enjoying the content you're seeing, hit that subscribe button down below, turn the bell notification on, and make sure you're coming back to this channel, because there will be more NECA reviews coming your way. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.